Hey guys, this is WhytManga here with a new video. Don't forget to hit the bell so you stay notified each time I upload a new video. In this video, you're going to watch me ink and color an Apple Black Volume 2 Promotional Illustration. I kind of was already posting kind of behind the scenes, work in progress shots on my Instagram. As you can see with these kind of drawings, I try to make them as dynamic as possible, 9 times out of 10. And here I like to start with a head, so you can see a lot of headshots kind of telling me where the characters are going to be, kind of blueprinting, it's kind of like a blueprint of how the last image is going to look before I go in with more details with pencils. Once I'm done with the pencils, then I start to ink. Now, sometimes I use the G pen, but recently I've been using the Sakura micron inking pens a whole lot more. For those who don't know me, I'm the creator of Apple Black. Apple Black is published and serialized on Saturday AM. Saturday AM is a digital magazine that publishes bi-weekly, so we release an issue twice a month. And we have a lot of diverse comics in there by diverse creators, so you can go check that out. We got like Bully Eater, Saigami, Clock Striker, and so on and so forth. And you can check out Apple Black. You can read the first 4 chapters free online. I'll leave links to everything you could possibly need in the comments below. You can also purchase Apple Black Volume 1, which has the first 9 chapters available. And then Apple Black Volume 2 is on its way with the next 9 chapters, so y'all should stay tuned for that. Here you can see me using a paper to rest my hand. I don't always do this, but I don't want my hand, especially if it gets a little sweaty or anything like that, to smudge the pencils and making the paper dirtier than it needs to be. But usually it works out fine because I end up erasing the pencils once I'm done inking. I have a separate video on the paper, the kind of paper I'm using, and the paper is the Leader comic book paper type A. B4, and I try to get the heavier paper, which is 135 kg. The heavier the paper, the better it is, longer lasting, and maybe when you erase, you don't tear the paper if you go too hard on it or anything like that. So here I'm just going over the lines where I want with the microns, and I'm making sure that where I'm resting my hand is on that extra paper, just so that I don't smudge any of the pencils. And that's pretty much it. For those who have been, subscribers of this channel, there's several videos of me inking stuff like this. But the goal here was to kind of tackle the drawing in a unique way and have some dynamic camera angles where it's a little warped. There's a lot of foreshortening, perspective, characters overlapping with each other, and it's done in a way where people can really appreciate the character designs of each major character showcased here. Also adding some interaction between the characters as well, but that doesn't necessarily need to happen with each or every illustration that's ever been made. But that was what I wanted to go with for this drawing. And sometimes you have characters spaced out, sometimes characters in some kind of uniform. The list goes on and how you want to do your posters or your illustrations, your drawings, etc. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes time. For those who are interested in this kind of stuff, my recommendation would be to kind of look at the dynamic drawings that you're a fan of, or you like, or studying the artists that you admire, but not just like copying. In a way, it's more like studying. After studying, you kind of see how you can apply that to your own work. I have several videos when it comes to how to practice and how to improve your drawing skills and your drawing capabilities, which I'll also link to. You guys can go check out, which it dives into more of all that kind of stuff. Here now I'm going with my brush and filling in with black all the parts that I do want to fill in with black. And this is after I've erased all the pencils, as you saw. There really isn't that much of a trick to it. I'll be using my Copic markers as well here. Here I have the sketch markers, so it's Copic Sketch 72A. I also have Copic Ciao for 72B, and because Copic markers actually come in, I think there are 3 types. You got originals, sketch, and Ciao. So I have Ciao and sketch for 72A and B, A for sketch, B for Ciao, and there are several versions, right? So there is A, B, C, I think it goes on. The main types of the markers themselves are 3, with sketch, Ciao, and original. And each type then has those A, B's, and C's and whatever. And each of those alphabets kind of have a collection of colors that come with them. And so A is different from B and whatever. So even though I have Ciao B and sketch A, they're both still Copic markers. The differences are with the the shape and style of the marker itself, where Ciaos are smaller and they don't last as long as the sketch, but they work the same way. They're still Copic markers. They're still alcohol-based markers. But now I have more variety with the colors. So there might be a red in A, there might be a red in B, but the reds are usually different. And it's rare that you get a color in the same, I guess, in the same classification, the same class, in the same alphabet. I also have some Copic markers that are specifically for scan. They're still Copic sketch markers, but this is not like an alphabet. This is like in skin tone, and here it's not 72. It's just six markers, usually specifically made for like coloring in skin and stuff like that. Human skin, to be more specific. And some of the markers you can also find in A and B, but this is for human skin for the most part. If you're designing a character with blue skin, then this wouldn't necessarily apply. That's what I'm doing here, putting in all the, I guess you can consider them flats, even though these aren't necessarily flat. Kind of coloring and trying to have volume, so you kind of lay down with the Copic markers, and then you go over it to kind of give the drawing or cloth or skin or whatever more volume, and you allow it dry. Sometimes you allow the alcohol dry, and then you go over it again. And sometimes you can go over it with a darker shade of the same color to give that vibe of shadow or shade or anything like that. But one thing I would try to do in this illustration is where I would take a different color and kind of use that to color everything at once with a uniform kind of shade. And I'm thinking of doing this with a kind of like a light orangey pink kind of color, and I'll kind of put that on the shadows. I haven't done that yet at all. I'll do that towards the end, and it will kind of give the drawing kind of like a uniform feel. And it's a similar technique used in cell shading, where you have all the shadows kind of have, at least all the shadows for moving figures have the same tone, the same shade, the same intensity, and it's applied throughout the drawing. So I'm taking that technique and applying it here in this traditional drawing, and you can see that's what I'm doing right now. In some cases you wouldn't see it as much because of the colors, like on the skin, because the color itself is so close to the color of skin, you wouldn't see it as much, which is fine. But I'll also apply it to other parts of the drawing where it'll be more apparent. But at the end of the day, once the drawing is done, it would still work. At first it might feel a little jarring and you might not be sure what you're doing, but I think at the end of the day it will work, especially when I add like an atmospheric pressure to the back of the drawing, where all the figures in the back kind of have a uniform tone. They would be this color as you see when you look at an image and people or buildings from really, like if you're seeing a building really far away, all the buildings kind of have almost like a silhouette look, but they always have, like, maybe if it's like in the afternoon, maybe the buildings are all blue and they just form this kind of blurry silhouette. That's kind of like what I'm going to do here. So the figures at the back are going to be this orangey pinkish tone, and so they'll form like a silhouette for all the characters that are further behind in this illustration, and is also using it to do some shading for some of the characters here. It's hard to explain, but some of you understand what I'm saying. Some of you, it'll take a while before you get it, but it's not necessarily a technique that's always used. You don't need to do it. I just chose to do it. One thing I like to do with these drawings, especially if I'm going to do something experimental, is I'm always scanning in the drawing once in a while. So when I sketched out the drawing, I make sure I have like a stamp of it. So if I ink the drawing, erase the pencils, and I scan in the drawing so I have the inks. If the coloring doesn't go well, at least I have the inks, which gives me the option to then color traditionally, which in this case I didn't necessarily have to, because I liked the end result anyway, so I just have the inks just to have the inks, and maybe I'll give it to you guys to color digitally for those who are interested, and so you guys can go have fun with that. Sorry guys for the last, I know my voice is a little weird. For the last couple days I've been kind of sick, so you know, hopefully I get over it. And it's like a little headache with a mixture of like allergies, so the last couple days have not been fun, but I'll be fine. I'll get to it. And yeah, for the most part this illustration is done. I just wanted to kind of narrate and walk you through my thought process putting this together. The hardest part was actually placing the characters and putting all that you know, in place, making everything feel dynamic, foreshortening perspective, making sure the anatomy is right and all of that. That's the hard part, but once you get past that, everything's kind of like, you know, easier and fun. And as you can see the process going from pencils to inks to scans to colors, then to the scans of the colors, and then you kind of play with the image and the computer, playing around with its contrast and opacity to make sure the blacks are black, you know, to give it like that flat black feel, and you know, play with it a little more, and then you can have this. And I think this illustration will also be used for Saturday AM's issue 65 cover that you guys should stay tuned for. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys like it. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. Subscribe to the channel. Again, don't forget to hit that bell. And yeah, it's WhytManga, and I'm out.